Did you guys know that there is a dark side to some of our first responders? Now I'm talking about fire department, I'm talking about first responders, EMTs, and even police officers. And it's something that I am going to refer to as a death book because I can't seem to find the correct word for it. What am I talking about? I want you to imagine back in the day when we didn't have cell phones and tape recorders and video recorders in our hands. What we had was just old-timey cameras. And showing up at a crime scene, because you're the first responder, and taking pictures of some very horrific things, say car accidents, suicides, murders, bodies being found in all shapes and sizes, and you photographing that, then taking that camera to be developed. What do you do with the photos afterwards? I knew a first responder when I was younger, right after I graduated high school, and he had something he referred to as a death book. And in it, he had photographs from the worst of the worst scenes that he had ever shown up to help in. To this day, I can still envision these photographs. And he had them in a photo album in his home. Why am I talking about this now? Because I think this is a much bigger issue than the majority of Americans realize. So my name is Samantha, and I think we need to have this important conversation. So a lot of people have been hearing the story of the twins, the Lewis twins, that were found deceased by gunshot on top of Bell Mountain.
A volunteer firefighter has been arrested, accused of taking a picture of the twins' bodies at the crime scene and then sharing that photo. A hiker found 19-year-olds Qaadir and Naazir Lewis on Bell Mountain in Towns County on March 8th. It's 90 miles from their home in Lawrenceville. The GBI initially called it a murder-suicide, but the family believes something more sinister happened.
The family fully believes that these young men did not commit suicide. They are screaming foul play. What caught my attention was that recently a first responder was arrested for sharing photos of these two young men, wounds and all, on social media. In fact, students from the school they used to attend had these photos. Now imagine if the mother would have come across these photos, or the grandmother, God forbid. And he was arrested and he was prosecuted. But it happens far more than you realize, folks. The Virgin Islands had to pass laws just a few years ago because of two different instances where people's death photos were shared and leaked. It happened when Kobe Bryant, his helicopter went down. Los Angeles, they ended up having to pay $30 million to the families for the photos that the police shared on social media. I found a few more cases that were speckled across the United States where car accident victims, their photos were shared on social media and the immediate family came across them. Folks, why is that happening? I mean, I get it. We live in a day and age where people are just, they want so much when they find out they want to know everything. They want to see everything, right? Everybody thinks of themselves as some kind of special detective. But my concern is that I found a report from the National Institute of Health, and yes, those are gunshots. I live in the country, nothing I can do about it. The NIH, talking about how some first responders are basically narcissists, folks. They feed off of the images of death and destruction. Now I'm talking about all of them. No, I'm not. But even I have been exposed to it before social media from a friend of the family who was a first responder and a fire department. He worked as a firefighter. On his days off, he worked as a first responder. Now, if he, father of 3 sons, married, went to church with me, had a death book in his home, how often does that actually happen? Where your loved one's last moments or, their physical bodies are just on display in someone's personal home. Why is it such an issue? So if you guys didn't know, we got demonetized for talking about stuff like this, because this is what YouTube calls harmful. This is what I call pointing out hypocrisy and fixing issues that need to be discussed. So if you'd like to support our channel, look in the top of comments. There are numerous ways that you can row in our boat. We would be greatly appreciative. But if you've ever come across somebody that had death photos, I'd like to hear about it, because I believe that this is a bigger issue than people realize. Social media wasn't around 30 years ago. Cell phones weren't around. I know, shocking. We're not around 30 years ago, but they are now, which makes it even worse, because average citizens pulling up on a crime scene or an accident immediately start filming versus helping. Hence, where you heard those shots coming from, there was a horrific accident 3 years ago. The gentleman was trapped in his vehicle. So one young girl was trying to help in the vehicle. It flipped. She was trying to help him. Some of the other young adults, while waiting on the police, they had called 911. They were videotaping. They uploaded it to Facebook, where his wife saw her husband's last minutes alive on this earth. Eventually, the video was removed, but that tasteless need to upload someone's last minutes on Facebook, even in my rural small community, is extremely concerning. It shows a lack of empathy and realization that death is an end. It is a physical end. It is a transformation. If you're a Christian, you believe that we're going to be up in heaven with Jesus and it's a glorious thing. But let's not beat around the bush. It's also a scary idea. And knowing, what if he was aware of the fact that he was being recorded? Think about that. Yeah, so I think this is really a dark and turrid conversation that we're having, but I think it is one that we need to have. I think all of us kind of need to check in with our local first responders and fire departments and police departments and make sure there's something, a policy already in place to protect us beforehand. Because here's the thing about policies. They're always put in place after the fact. After the damage has been done to somebody, that's when somebody goes, oh, wait, maybe we should have put this policy in place, right? So that's why I'm bringing this attention to you. The Lewis twins really caught my attention because this is what I'm talking about. It takes a dark and twisted person to put the crime scenes of young 19-year-old beautiful twins on Facebook in a small community where the chances are extremely high that family members are going to trip and fall over these photos. It takes a dark individual with a lack of empathy, which makes me beg to ask the question, why in the hell were you a first responder to begin with if you lack judgment? That's the real question. And it also, you have to ask your question, is he involved in their death also?
Georgia Mountain. Breaking news, an arrest has been made regarding the death of twin brothers found on a Georgia mountain. The bodies of Qaadir Lewis and Naazir Lewis, both 19, were discovered by a group of hikers on March 8th. This took place in Georgia in what is known as a sundown town, known to be racist. The twins were on their way to the airport, and no one knows how they wound up on this mountain. Georgia authorities tried to make this out to be a self-unaliving and another person unaliving, but no one was buying it. 42-year-old Scott Kerlin, a volunteer firefighter, has been arrested for sharing photos of this scene. He has also been fired from the fire department. The boys had their airline tickets in their pockets, and there is no way they were headed to the airport with a GUN. Nobody believes this is what Georgia authorities are saying it was. We have got to get justice for these two beautiful boys and their family. Keep the pressure on your authorities. Keep the pressure on the cops. Make them investigate this crime. The phone number for the Georgia Bureau of Investigations is 404-244-2600.
Is this some kind of a mockery of these young men's death? I don't know, folks. I don't know. A lot of people just want to say he's racist, so I think it's much deeper than that. Not everything has to do with color. Sometimes it just has to do with lack of love completely. They don't even like themselves, so why are they going to like you? Like, comment, subscribe. Tell me what you think.